Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ask the Theologian. It's Wednesday. On Wednesday, we study the Gospel of John at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And we will look forward to having you, if you can join us for that. Have enjoyed going through the Gospel of John, getting into some of the nitty-gritty in the 5th chapter. Tonight, I think it's session 21. Well, go ahead and join us if you can, live or archived. You can always binge watch it later as well. And we've got, 20 sessions up of John already, so you can start your binge watching. And we will have a great day with that. I see that Keith reminds us it is Canada Day. Oh, Canada, oh, Canada. I don't know that song, but happy Canada Day to you. I didn't even know what Canada Day was until I looked it up. And I found out that this celebrates, what is it? The anniversary on July 1, 1867, the effective date of the Constitution Act, which united 3 separate colonies of the province of Canada, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick into a single dominion with the British Empire called Canada. So, happy Canada Day to you. We dealt with the British Empire just a little bit different down south, but nonetheless, happy Canada Day to you. And hey, just a few days from now, this is July the 1st, of course, a few days from now, we're going to celebrate Independence Day. We're going to do it by being bound to our government, forced to wear a mask and stay inside to celebrate our freedoms. Yeah! What a facade. Anyway. Welcome to Ask the Theologian. We take your biblical, theological, and worldview questions today. We're glad that Madison and Cameron are our live studio audience today. They have been serving as summer missionary interns at the Taos First Baptist Church right here in Taos, New Mexico, and they have really done the biggest part of the work for our Vacation Bible School, which we had last week, and we appreciate that. And they're headed back to Green Bay, Wisconsin tomorrow, and we will miss having them here. Let's see, we've got some questions that have come in already. Let's go ahead and get to your question. Stephen in Missouri, in today's world where evolution is taught as a fact instead of as a philosophy that it truly is, how can you present the gospel when a person you're presenting it to doesn't even believe that God exists? Wonderful question. So let's break that apart here just a moment. You are right that evolution is taught today as a fact, and yet it is scientifically verifiable that it is not a fact. What do I mean by that? Has science proven it to be wrong? No. Has the Bible or has Randy White proven it to be wrong? No. Has anyone proven it to be wrong? No, because you can't prove it to be wrong. You see, in order for it to be a scientific fact, it has to align with scientific theory. And the scientific theory is only valid for those things that you can test. So I could have a theory that says if I put ice cubes in water, the temperature would go down. The overall temperature of the water would go down. That's a theory until I test it. So I put the ice cubes in the water. I have taken the temperature ahead of time. I take the temperature after. I say, sure enough, it went down. I say, let's repeat it. We do it again. And it goes down. And we do it again and again and again. And it goes down. And it never goes up, or it never stays the same. Therefore, I can say with scientific certainty, when you put ice cubes into water, the temperature of that water is going to go down. This is a scientific fact. Now, before that, it was just a theory. And with evolution or creationism, I might add, can you test it? No, you can't. This means that it is outside of the realm of science. it is not a scientific, evolution is not a scientific fact, nor is creation a scientific fact. Both of them are outside of the realm of science. Now, all you can do then is have a model. And you can have an evolutionary model, or you can have a creationist model, or I suppose you could come up with another model. I see that some these days, because the evolutionary model is so far from working with anything, they're actually coming up with an alien model, that aliens came in at some point and seeded this world with human life. And this is where humanity came from. So you have whatever model you want. Then, again, because you cannot test it, it's impossible, what you can do is look at the circumstances around you and say, what fits the model? Of course, in evolution, you have to have billions and billions of years for the kinds of changes to take place, because we recognize the kinds of change that take place within a certain species. And so to bring about, upon the scale we know, the kind of changes that we need, you need billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of years, and then you're not close enough. So you presume billions of years. Then you have to stop and say, does the Earth support the model of billions of years? I think what you find, and I think others agree with me on this, that you find, hey, guess what? It doesn't, we can't support the model. Remember when they landed in 1969, when they landed that lunar module on the moon, and it had those big plates at the bottom, on the legs, to land on the moon. The reason they put those things is because they were suspecting billions and billions of years of moon dust. And this thing was going to have to land on soft moon dust that had piled up for billions and billions of years. You know what they found? About 5 or 6 inches of moon dust. And guess what? 5 or 6 inches of moon dust is about what you would get if the world is about 6,000 years old. Not if it's billions and billions of years old. So you could go one example after 10,000 and show that there's a problem with the evolutionary model. But you're right, it is taught as scientific fact. I think, by the way, if I were a scientist, especially one that wasn't related to the science of beginnings, if I were a scientist, I would be protesting this day in and day out, because the evolution being taught as a science hurts the industry of science. I would be saying, we do science, they do religion. Quit calling it science, because evolution is not science. It cannot be science. By definition, it is outside of the realm of science. It's observation, no doubt about it. But it is not science. But you're exactly right. You have this issue then, in which it is taught as evolutionary fact, rather than philosophy, theory, hypothesis, whatever word you want to use there. And it certainly is a philosophy. Now, so then you've got so many people that have been taught evolutionary, the facts of evolution, so to speak, and they reject the idea of God, because the evolutionary philosophy has no room for God. It has no place for God. It has no need for God. And further, not only does it not have a need for God, but there is no single man and single woman. And if there is no single man and single woman, they were not in a garden and ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and that act brings about a separation for all men that come after them. The evolutionary model simply does not fit with the Bible at all. As a matter of fact, if you hold to evolution, you reject the Bible. Period. you reject the need for a savior. You reject that there is a savior. You reject the fall of man. You reject the curse upon this world. You reject every fundamental theological premise there is. So those out there like N.T. Wright, I can't figure out why anybody wants to read any of his stuff. It's hard to read in the first place, and then he's one that just says, I reject Genesis chapter 1 and 2. It's fake, it's false, it's a lie. Why in the world do you want to take a theologian who says Genesis 1 and 2 is fake and false and a lie? You don't. I would just reject him. All you evangelicals out there that get, all excited when someone says N.T. Wright. Oh, N.T. Wright. Oh, N.T. Wright. I say, N.T. Wright's wrong. He rejects Genesis chapter 1 and 2, and everything falls there. This is why the organization Answers in Genesis, of course, I don't agree with everything they do, but they don't agree with everything I do. I think that's probably going to be okay. But Answers in Genesis recognizes when you get Genesis right, the rest of your theology is going to come into line. And this is exactly, when you get it wrong, the Bible literally crumbles. So Stephen here again hits into this very important issue that now you're trying to share the gospel and someone doesn't even believe God exists because they accepted the evolutionary model. Now, I give all that introduction because my spiritual gift is lengthy introductions. And because the challenge with someone who's accepted the evolutionary model is not only are they not going to believe in God, but then if you convince them about God, they don't believe in a single man and a single woman, which were the beginning of creation, that we all came from them. There wasn't really a first man and a first woman. They don't believe that, Romans 5:12, for example, that tells us by one man sin entered into the world and death through sin. They believe that there had already been billions and billions of years. So it's not just the fact that they don't believe in God, they don't believe in any of the building blocks for the Christian faith. So how then can we come in on the back end and say, hey, God sent his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him would not perish, but have everlasting life? There's nothing in the premise that they believe. So what do we have to do in sharing the gospel with those people? First of all, I think this is an issue which is more and more going to be the fundamental objection to sharing the gospel, is that they don't even believe in the starting point. We used to have a society, and I've said this so many times, we used to have a society that was built upon Judeo-Christian values. Not necessarily a Christian society, but it had Judeo-Christian values. That is, it did believe there was a God. You can go back to, let's take a Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who obviously had liberal politics and all the other things that come about with the FDR administration. But when he spoke to the nation, he would lead them in prayer. He would speak about God. He would speak about the things of God. And so, in that day, it was very uncommon to have anyone in society who did not accept the premise of God. I saw just the other day a New Testament that was given to the troops during World War II. And it was a little, testament about this size that they could carry, maybe smaller because it was a pocket testament. And in the front, it had a printed inscription from the president, the commander-in-chief, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And he talked about how, this sacred book carries with it the truths of mankind and the various things that he said there. That was the common understanding. Now we don't have that. Now, I think that because that was the common understanding. Not only God, but also sin and separation from God and the need of a Savior and all those things that are packed into basically the Old Testament. But with that, then they had all those basic understandings. So you could start a gospel presentation by saying, "Do you know Jesus Christ? Let's talk about Jesus Christ. He came to be the Savior of the world. He died for our sins. He was buried. He rose again, and He's offering a free gift of eternal life today. Would you like to have a discussion about that?" You could start there. Today, if you start there, you have left so much of the younger audience anyway completely out, and they have no frame of reference. And why in the world would I want to talk about a guy who died 2,000 years ago on a cross between two other guys who died on a cross? I'm not really interested in all of that. It's not part of my worldview. I reject the premise of that, and so you cannot start there. I think that for evangelism in the, are we in the 21st century? Just checking with Madison. I always have to think about that for some reason. In the 21st century, we are going to have to start out, evangelism is going to have to start out with Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God. And we're going to have to build the case that there was a pre-existent God. He is the ultimate reality. There was not pre-existent matter. There was not pre-existent time. There was not pre-existent space. In the beginning, God. And we have to start out right there. And then we're going to have to build, He created, He made man, He put him in the garden, all of those things. It really is kind of amazing that the Bible starts there. That is the beginning of the Scripture. And I think we're going to have to go back. And just as we had done, or just as we do when it's done well, just as we do today when we go to unreached people groups around the world, we start at the beginning and we do chronological Bible teaching. That's where we're going to have to start again. We used to kind of do that because preschoolers were taught, God made the world, God made the flowers, God made the sun, God made the sunrise, God made me, God made you, God made mommy, God made daddy, and we were building that. Our society accepted it, and we started right there. And then we went into some of those, that every preschooler could have told you back in the 70s. They could have told you about Adam and Eve in the garden and eating of the fruit and the snake in the garden and all that kind of stuff. And so we were doing chronological Bible storying or Bible telling, Bible teaching in a little bit different way because there was a basis of understanding with the parents. Now we're starting with the parents and going all the way back there and having to carry that out. Appreciate your comment there. Let's go to Bruce in Wisconsin, who happens to be Madison's dad. You better watch out. He's watching. And she's done a great job here. And our question, can you give your thoughts on Romans chapter 2, verse 29? I have, the first half of Romans 2 seems to be pointing to unbelieving Gentiles. Indeed it does. And then the second half switches to the average Jew. I think you're right there. Is Paul speaking directly to his audience or just in general? Seems like some could take 229 to say the law is in your heart and not physical. Now, Romans chapter 2, verse 29, he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit and not the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of God. Now, this question, that the way that Bruce words the question, I like it. Is Paul speaking directly to his audience or just in general? I think that, again, probably standard evangelicalism is going to look at this and he's saying, oh, he's speaking in general. That is, he's speaking to Bruce in Wisconsin and Randy in New Mexico and, Keith celebrating Canada Day in Ontario. And it's just very generally is the way that this is taken. Probably, if you at random pick up a commentary, that's what you're going to find out, is that he's speaking in general. Now, if he's speaking in general, then you take this passage again. He is a Jew, which is one inwardly. Let's stop right there. He is a Jew, which is one inwardly. Oh, well, I'm a Jew inwardly. Yeah, that's me. I have a circumcision that is of the heart, in the spirit, and not the letter. And my praise is not of men, but of God. Yes, that's me. And then you get into all the kinds of issues of replacement theology, and you miss, I think, the ultimate teaching of the Word and of this particular passage. So I don't think he is speaking generally. I do think he is speaking to his audience. Now, it is my understanding, and some disagree with me on this. It's probably the only thing that people disagree with me on. But it's my understanding that the book of Romans is written by Paul to Roman Jews. And he is explaining to those Jews what God is doing with Jews now that he also has a place in his plan and purpose for Gentiles. What becometh of the Jew? That's who he's speaking to, and he's speaking to Jews. It's very beneficial for us as Gentiles to read because we happen to be the Gentiles for whom God is bringing into his purpose or has brought into his purpose. So we understand it from our perspective, but it was written to those Jews explaining what's happened to Judaism today, or what has happened to the Jew. I use that kind of in a plural sense, in the purpose and the plan of God. He's explaining this to them. So he explains some things, as Bruce has said, about the Gentiles. Then he comes and says, hey, let me talk about you Jews a little bit, or let me talk to you Jews, my fellow kinsmen of the flesh. Let's talk about this. And he comes, in fact, in verse 28, he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh, but he is a Jew, which is one inwardly. And we've gone through the rest of that passage there. Now, there, I think he's not speaking in general. He's not talking to Bruce. He's not talking to Randy. He is rather talking to those specific Jews in his audience. If there is an overlap of that application, it would be to the Jews that were living there in that day that God was still working with in terms of the kingdom. I think what he's saying is Gentiles, we've already talked about them. Jews, let me talk to you. And he says, and he builds a case really for what God is doing among the Gentiles, among individuals. He says that Judaism, real Judaism, cannot just be external. You see, the thing about the law and the thing about Judaism is there were so many externals in it that you could appear to be a Jew. You were born of a Jew, circumcised on the 8th day, carried out all the law, always went to Passover, all the things that a Jew would do, you could do those. But in your heart, you could hate God. You could not believe any of it. You could do all those external things. So what Paul says is, hey, Jews, I want you to know and understand that faith is part and parcel of being a Jew. If you just go through the motions of bringing the turtle dove and the ox or whatever it is, if you just go through the motions, you're not really a Jew. I know that you were born of Jewish parents. I know that you've been circumcised on the 8th day. I know that you went to Passover last year, but you're not a Jew because faith is part and parcel of the Jew. And so he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly. Now, but he's a Jew, which is one inwardly. Does he say that you can be a Jew only inwardly? No, he doesn't. And I think this is where evangelicals mess up. They say, if you've got a Jewish spirit, then you are a Jew. But I think Paul's pretty clear when you put his overall teaching together is to be a Jew, you have to be under the covenants of Israel. I'm not under the covenants of Israel. So it doesn't matter how inwardly I associate myself with the Jewish people, I identify as a Jew, none of that matters. I am not that. Now, I think we can understand this a little bit here, even in some of the gender confusion that's taught in our world today. And that is, people identifying as a different gender. We know that doesn't make them that gender. They're just their identification, self-identification is there, their confusion is there. But in the truth, they're either a male or they're a female. And the world is trying to tell us it doesn't matter what is outward, what matters is what is inward. Well, we know that to not be true, and yet we get it confused on this issue. He is not a Jew who's one outwardly, but is one inwardly. That is talking to the person who really is a Jew. Yes, you are a Jew outwardly, that is, born of a Jew, circumcised on the 8th day, again, all the things outwardly of a Jew, you are that, but in addition to that, you must be a Jew inwardly. There must be that circumcision of the spirit that is within you as well. Otherwise, you're not a Jew. I hope that was helpful for all of that. Thank you. Excuse me, Keith and Deb up in the Ozarks. Deb specifically, I suppose. Speaking of change, have you heard about the coin shortage sparked by the virus? We had one yesterday, didn't we? Were you on the program? We couldn't find a quarter. But a little differently. The coin shortage sparked by the virus. As a result of the shortage, some businesses have removed the ability to pay cash. I saw a sign in my town of less than 5 people, so it must be 500 people, excuse me. I saw a sign in my town of less than 500 people, so it must be true. I wonder if this is another crisis so that we must go to a cashless society. Now, I've heard of businesses that are refusing to accept cash. And they're refusing to accept cash mainly because they have to touch it and I have to touch it, and they're going to catch my COVID or I'm going to catch their COVID or whatever it is. And I think, again, we have a manufactured crisis in order to bring about some desired end. If scientifically we knew that coronavirus is spread on currency, and this seems to be a major form of transmission, is this particular, passing around these papers or these coins, okay, then maybe we should stop and look at it. But there's no science that says that. There's no evidence that says that. I don't think anybody has verifiably received COVID because they handled somebody's quarter. And in fact, I think the science behind it is saying you're not going to get it that way. It's not, as you remember, it's not a virus that comes by skin contact. It's an air droplet. So when you come then and say, okay, I'm not going to take cash, or I'm not going to take your filthy lucre that you breathed on and put the coronavirus on because I might touch it and get coronavirus through my thumb. Well, then you've gone to agenda because there's no science behind it. That's just agenda. Maybe it's fear. And that's somebody else's agenda that you've just adopted there, but fear. And so then with a coin shortage, and I suppose some of that coin and even paper currency shortage may come because people are employees are staying home and they're not there at the printing press printing money. One of the things that we are having more and more and more, the difficulties we're having is getting books printed. As a matter of fact, I may tell you about it soon, maybe in 30 seconds, I'm not sure. That we're working on bringing printing literally in-house for our books because we don't know if we can get them. It's probably the same in the printing of currency. People are just not, they've got 50% of their workforce or whatever because of government regulations that they are unable to come and do their work, all that. Now, is this a crisis so that we must go to a cashless society? I think that banks, governments, all that really probably would like to see us go to a cashless society. So much easier to track, isn't it? It got Bitcoin, and some people came up with Bitcoin because you can't necessarily track it. But for the most part, you can't really track a dollar bill. I suppose if it's marked or something, and they've got some means of trying to figure out whether you're laundering money and all that, but it's very, very difficult to do. Well, Big Brother likes to be able to track everything. And so governments, certainly, especially the IRS, they would love to be able to track all of that and to take advantage of the fears of the American people in order to bring us to a cashless society. I think there is something to say there. Now, I would add also, in my life, I've always been an early adopter of technology. And early on, I wrote checks because checks is what you do. But as soon as a debit card came out, I took that thing and I was in it. Back in the days when you had, telephone banking and some people were scared of telephone banking because they had to put some numbers in there. I was in it. And the debit card. And so through my adult life, I have very seldom carried much cash. I've found myself a few times, even traveling on trips, and I have, no cash with me. And I'm thinking at times, that probably isn't a good idea. I maybe should have got me $10 or something. I just relied electronically. Now, I'm rethinking that. Not because the electronic system doesn't work and not because I'm trying to run and hide from anything. I'm rethinking that because I don't want a society that does not have cash. I want a society in which a person can take cash, stick it in their pocket or stick it in their mattress and save it, use it when and how they will, and not have it confiscated immediately overnight in some means or manner or whatever it might be. I appreciate you taking that. Dima in Lufkin, Texas said paid water bill yesterday at Lufkin City Hall and they had a sign regarding a coin shortage. And this is the first that I haven't seen any signs here of the coin shortage. But maybe it's because I live in a society that lives off the EBT card. I'm not sure. Keith says going cashless is not going to be good for drug dealers. There are some good reasons the government would like to rid the society of cash. I just don't think we should let them. I think that we need to hold on to that aspect of society. Interesting. Keith says, my job is gone because they decided not to print anymore. Interesting. Susan says, how worried should we be over the rioters coming to the suburbs? Was it in a suburb in St. Louis where that man got his, I'm not all that good at guns to understand, but semi-automatic, wasn't it? And the woman had her pistol out there. Of course, it's been on all the pictures. Was that in the suburbs of St. Louis? I think that the riots are probably not going to come to the suburbs. Probably. They don't have enough strength now to come to the suburbs, I don't think. I think when you come to the suburbs, you have masses of people that have a job, a church, a family, a school, and they live their life around those kind of basic principles in life that I get up in the morning, I cook the bacon for my family, I get out the door and I go to work and I make enough money for tomorrow morning's bacon. And the suburbs are not people that feel they have been oppressed by the oppressors. They are people that feel that I've got an opportunity to do better for myself if I'll get out of bed and go do something. Nobody owes me anything. And I worked so hard for this little 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house and a peach tree out in the back that you're not going to come in here and I'm not just going to sit back and watch you take it. And furthermore, my neighbors will gather together. And even if we don't have guns to shoot you back, we will get every stick we can get and we will beat the living daylights out of you if you try to take our stuff. God bless America. I don't think that they have enough guts or enough guns to go in the suburbs. Maybe I'm wrong, but they're going to have to get a lot more strength in so many different ways to go into the suburbs, into the small towns, even normal small towns. I live in a small town, but it ain't normal. But normal small town America, middle America, flyover country, there's still too much American spirit for that. So I don't see that happening. I wouldn't be surprised if in some of the bigger cities they don't try a few more of the Chaz Chop kind of whatever that deal is at Capitol Hill area in Seattle. If they, try to make some autonomous zones here or there, they've tried. They've been miserable at that, and they can't even keep the one they've got going. I think some forces were going in this morning. I just saw a headline on it. I didn't read it, and I just wonder why in the world do you wait until all those people are dead in the Capitol Hill autonomous zone or whatever they're calling it these days? That shouldn't have been allowed to last 30 minutes, honestly. And that is an utter failure on the part of the mayor of Seattle and the governor of Washington State. And to a degree, I'll even put some fault upon the president there. Now, it's not his role to go in and do it, but I don't know. If I was the president, I think I would have put much more bully pulpit kind of pressure upon all of that. What do I know about all those things? But anyway, I do not think that it's going to go into the suburbs, and I'll tell you later if I'm right. Charles says this is a good word. I don't know if this is true. He says if 80 to 90% of our $100 bills have cocaine upon them, wouldn't cocaine kill the COVID-19? Maybe so. That's I hear the drug dealers use the $100 bills, right? maybe so. Let's go to Greg in Locust, North Carolina. Why did God tell his people to put the sign of the covenant in their flesh in such a private place where it was not visible under normal circumstances? I don't know. How's that for an answer? I think it has something to do with the fact that it's a very intimate covenant and a very individual and private covenant, and a covenant that has to do with the next generation and regeneration. Those would be my guesses. I think it would be interesting to go maybe to Chabad.org and see what the Jewish rabbis have to say about that. I don't know exactly how you Google it, and I would be careful with all that. But in the end, that's my guess, is to say it has something to do with the intimacy and of the covenant and the passing on of the covenant from one generation to another generation. Charles, God bless you. I have a few quarters, some old, some new. Want me to mail you a few to put to the next Violet? This poor Violet, it just, all the talking that this Violet gets, and it just has beautiful, look how nice and green and symmetric and just wonderful it is. And still, I'm not seeing anything in there that's looking like a bloom. I have started in the daytime here, moving it out to the south window. Someone told me if you put it at a south window, this room that I'm in is totally black. But I do have a grow light up there. That's what keeps these plants right here alive. And so I've been putting it under the grow light. It comes on at night. And I thought, oh, that'll work. That'll work. But so far, it's just made it so nice and symmetrical and green and lovely. Madison was in charge of bringing the Violet in today because it had been left in the south window. And Madison, when we're done, would you put it out in the south window again? Because we're praying for some blossoms. But the truth is, you don't need a reason to live. You need an African violet. It really does solve the problems of the world. Let's see here. Let me move over to Facebook and see what I've got here. Keith, that's a good word. Evolution, a verdict that demands evidence. Yeah, it is a verdict, and it does demand some evidence there. On dispensationalpublishing.com, we have our special this week. Right there, the historical and geographical study guide of Israel. And let me pop back over to that and pull that up for you. There we go. It is $29.39. It's usually kind of expensive, $41.99. Arnold Fruchtenbaum has put this together. There's a little quote from Randy White right there. This traveler's guide is excellent. Organized alphabetically, it's easy to find the place you want to study, read the information, and gain valuable insights into biblical events and secular history that took place in each location. Meticulously studied and well presented with full color. Every traveler to the Holy Land should get this book. But you might not be a traveler to the Holy Land, shame on you, but you should still get this book. Again, you know what? I said full color in that. The old version was full color. Now they have gone to black and white. But there is a section, if you get some $2 dispensational publishing glasses, you can read it a little bit as well. It tells about the modern state of Israel and some interesting things like the Druze. We've had a Druze guest up on this show before. The Samaritans, then the geographical divisions, just a little bit about the coastal plain, the hill country, and whatnot. The Araba, and then what it's got then is, again, literally just specific places in Israel. There it is. And you go down, and it's alphabetical. There's Abel Beth Makkah. I don't know if I've ever been there or not. but it's got 7 things to say about it. Akko, Acre, I've been there, have only taken one tour group there. It's up a little bit out of the way. AI, and tells you, 6 things about AI. Again, you can go through here. Beit Shean, one of my favorite places. Here's Beit Shean. It's just a numbered list, as you can see. And it's so helpful as you come through and you are, reading in the scriptures, and you come through and you find I ended up in Acts, and we were in Cyprus there, but you come and you find a place in the Holy Land, you look it up, and again, Beit Shean, which is listed, 15, 20 times in the scriptures, you can see things like, it's of the tribe of Manasseh. It was not taken by Joshua, but were retained by the Canaanites. It was taken then by the Philistines. Saul's body was fastened to the walls in Beit Shean. The city became Israelite only under David. And was destroyed under the Assyrians, resettled by the Greeks. 143 BC, Jonathan Maccabee tried to halt the Syrians and agreed to negotiations, only to be tricked and captured. It goes so much. Here's 30 things that are listed here in the modern day. Kind of modern. In the Byzantine period, the majority became Christians, who numbered about 40,000 people. Here's an interesting one. The city grew and prospered under the Byzantines and made the capital of Palestina Secunda. Had a pluralistic society of pagans, Jews, Christians, Samaritans, each with his own houses of worship. The gladiator games were stopped under the Byzantines. The theater, bathhouses, and fountains continued to function. There's so much you can just find. So it's a great guide if you're going to Israel, but also if you're just studying the Word, and serves as kind of a Bible dictionary of places. So once again, that's $29.39. By the way, this was last week's special, and it's still on sale. No banners or anything, but because you're listening here, it's still on sale, and you can get that. Okay, let me check here and see. Here is a question that comes again from Dima, our East Texas friend. Did you hear the meteorologist, Wayne Brown, who worked for KMBT-TV in Beaumont, who resigned, stating that because he was a Christian, he could no longer work for a station that... And then I got cut off. I'm going to... there we go. That continued to feed fake news to the public. He referred to it as fueling the fire. Wow. I have not heard Wayne Brown, the meteorologist. I'm going to check that out. I have nothing scientific to go on here, but within television news, it seems to me like there is more Christianity or more Christians in television news, local television news, in the meteorology department than anywhere else. That is the place where Christianity has been allowed to stay. It's not all that uncommon to hear a meteorologist on a Saturday night, for example, saying, if you get up and go to church tomorrow, you're going to experience, rain on the way, whatever it is. And little things like that you can tell, okay, they're church friendly. And then there are some out there who are just very Christian. In Houston, he's retired now, but Dr. Neil Frank, a number of years ago, had a fine Christian testimony and carried that out in Amarillo, Texas. I think is Doppler Dave still there? It's been a while. Doppler Dave used to go around speaking to, he had a different name too, but they all called him Doppler Dave. Maybe because his head looked like Doppler radar tower. He had a Christian faith. You seem to see that among meteorologists. So here's one, Wayne Brown, who KMBT in Beaumont. Now, Beaumont, east of Houston, working man's town, not the urban center of Harris County, Houston. You would think that would be a place where Christianity, getting into the Deep South would be respected, and where journalism might have an opportunity to survive. KBMT, not KMBT, KBMT. And so, I hadn't heard about it, but I'll say God bless Wayne Brown, who seems to have said, I'm not going to be part of it. I'll find another job. I don't have to have this job. And that's true for all of us, by the way. We can find another job. And it might not be as good a job. It might not be as famous a job. It might not be as fancy a job. But we can find another job if we have to. Let's not be beholden to our paycheck and give up our principles. So God bless the Wayne Brown. I started to say young man. I don't know if he's a young man or not. I appreciate that stand that he has taken. It is so hard to find solid news. Last week we talked about the Epic Times. We should start the Theological Times, shouldn't we? We talked about the Epic Times, and I mentioned that I didn't have a lot of association there to go by. I have received from several of you some very good comments on the Epic Times, some of you who are subscribers. I've somewhat been intending to subscribe myself, but I have not done it yet. It just appears so impossible to get good news. God bless him. Here in New Mexico, our state's most famous meteorologist, Mark Ronchetti, resigned earlier this year to run for Senate. He is a Christian man, albeit I would say of the standard evangelical variety, but certainly one who holds Judeo-Christian values and attends with his family a large megachurch in Albuquerque. He resigned to run for Senate. He won the Senate nomination easily, the Republican nomination for Senate easily. He is running this fall against Ben Ray Lujan. Ben Ray Lujan is the son of Ben Lujan. Ben Lujan was a representative in the U.S. Congress for New Mexico for many years, since I think 1509. He died in office, and eventually his son, Ben Ray, took that position. He's been in that position. I think Ben Ray Lujan got the position from Bill Richardson. Remember him? Who became Secretary of something under Clinton, and then United Nations ambassador for a while, and then was governor of New Mexico for a while. Anyway, Ben Ray Lujan got the seat from him. Very liberal. So we have a meteorologist running against a Republican evangelical Christian meteorologist running against an establishment Democrat in a state where we've had some Republican senators before. Remember Pete Domenici, many years? It's possible Mark Ronchetti could win. We'll see. Probably depends on whether enough people vote for him. That's what it depends on. We shall see. Okay, we are done for today. No, we're not. We're done for this program. We're coming back tonight for the Gospel of John at 7 p.m. from the pulpit of Taos First Baptist Church. I hope you will join us for that. Again, you can get these books on special. And you know what? In addition to that, I think if you buy anything this week, it'll pop up this one as an add-on. I mean, what a time to buy. as an add-on, this one's regular $19.99. You'll be able to get it for $14.99. I think that's 30% off as well. And once you go through all the shopping cart, it'll say, "Hey, would you like to add this on?" Like good marketers. All of that's there. What a time to buy books and get you a $2 pair of glasses. You have to search for them a little bit. I haven't found a good way to put those on every page, but a delight to be with you. You pray for us at Randy White Ministries. We appreciate all of that. Look forward to studying the Word together with you tonight at 6 p.m. I'll get it right, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Tomorrow at 7, we're going to study the book of Ezekiel. And again, a delight to be with you. We'll see you soon. God bless you.